I thought I was almost done, the body was finished and the sleeve done. The second one looked fine, until it didn't. I was 4 stitches off and I only noticed once everything was finished. This video isn't about construction methods anymore. It's about the problems that only show up at the end. And the decisions you make when redoing everything isn't really an option. When I finished the second sleeve, something felt off immediately. It wasn't dramatic, but side by side, it was obvious. The second sleeve was thinner. 4 stitches thinner, which I only realized when I was ripping everything back and counted the stitches at the shoulder. This mistake didn't happen while knitting the sleeve. It happened much earlier, at the shoulder. I must have missed increasing during the body construction, and because this is bouclé, I simply didn't see it. And then I must have made a second mistake. When I separated the sleeves, I didn't count carefully enough, or I'm not really sure I'm counted at all. With smooth yarn this probably wouldn't have happened. With bouclé it absolutely can. I didn't want to redo the entire body, so I chose a compromise. I distributed 4 extra stitches at the shoulder. Normally that's a no-go because you can see the increases, but with bouclé it hides a lot, and here it worked. What made this mistake so frustrating wasn't the fixing part. It was realizing how early it happened and how easily it would have been to avoid. I rely usually more on visual cues than on counting, and in this case that habit backfired. I think this is one of those mistakes that only happen once, but only if you really pay attention to why it happened. This really reinforced one thing for me. When working with textured yarns, counting isn't optional, even if everything looks and feels fine. While fixing the sleeve, I started worrying about something else. During the process, the body felt tighter than expected. Bouclé stretches, but it also clings, and that can be misleading while knitting. So, even with trying on, it looked like the sweater could be wearable but a little bit tight around the chest. I was genuinely unsure if the sweater would end up wearable, especially around the bust and upper torso, but once the body was finished, that concern disappeared. There was also a moment where I had to decide whether I was reacting to the sweater or to my own expectations. Bouclé doesn't behave like smooth yarn. It doesn't clearly show ease or structure while you're knitting. And I had to remind myself that comfort isn't just about numbers, it's about how the fabric actually moves on the body. The bust darts worked extremely well here. They shaped the fabric without adding bulk, and they made a bigger difference than I expected. But there was one more issue that really unsettled me. In 2 places the yarn suddenly looked much thinner, almost as if the core thread had snapped. The fabric was visibly weaker there, and I didn't trust that it would hold up over time. I still don't know if this was a yarn flaw or something had happened while knitting. It's possible that while trying on the sweater, there was much pressure on those 2 points and it snapped because of that. But I can't really be sure, and I didn't want to ignore it. I reinforced those spots with extra yarn. Very locally. It doesn't change the look, you can barely see it, but it makes the sweater feel more reliable again. I debated for a while whether reinforcing those spots was overreacting, but the sweater is meant to be worn, not just finished. Even if the risk was small, not trusting the fabric would have changed how I wear it, and sometimes that's reason enough to intervene. Even though I reworked the neckline, I'm still slightly unsure about it. It looks good, but I want to see how it behaves after blocking. For now, I will leave it like that and maybe wear the sweater a few times and then decide if I like it or not. I used to think that finishing a project meant being completely sure and happy about it, but I don't think that's true anymore. Sometimes finishing means accepting that a few questions stay open. This sweater isn't perfect, but it's honest. and right now that feels much more valuable. And it really doesn't have to be perfect. I think that's one of the things about knitting your own garments. You have to be happy, not the garment to be perfect. And I like how it looks, and I think I would wear it, and that's the most important part. This project reminded me that boucle demands attention, not perfection, but awareness. Small mistakes don't always ruin a sweater, but ignoring them can. And I made a lot of mistakes knitting this sweater, but I think I fixed most of them, and it should be fine. If you worked with boucle before, I'd love to know how you handle things like sleeve or yarn inconsistencies. And if you enjoy process-focused knitting with honest reflections, you might enjoy the rest of the series.